All right, so we're starting tonight, chapter 4, the law of reflection. And I'll just start by saying, when I started reading this chapter, I was kind of like, man, this is kind of a boring one. Like, that's how I felt. I was really just going through it going, okay, this doesn't pertain to me, this doesn't pertain to me. And then you get to the last, like, 3 pages, and it's like a slap in the face a little bit. I'll share with you the one thing that, like, it says, hold on one second. Where's it at? Okay, it says is it worth your trouble is like the section. And it says, if you've been diligent in your efforts to grow along the way, you will also be better equipped to fulfill the purpose, even if it requires you to make significant changes or course corrections. And the reason that hit me is because I haven't been diligent in personal growth at all. Like, I've been told since the very beginning, spend 15 minutes a day on personal growth. You know, I got in I don't have time for that kind of phase. But it's been such an eye-opener in the last, probably, I don't know, I'd say probably 2 months, because I've been reading a lot more, not just this book. But I've been reading a lot more, and I just feel so much attention is being brought to reflection, asking yourself questions, journaling, or like just processing things, where I'm a quick thinker. I'm a talker. I laughed when he said his, I don't know if it was his weakness or something, is being impatient. I get told that I am the most impatient person because I have extreme patience, yet I don't take enough time. If that makes sense. I don't know if anyone can understand that, but I go from one thing to the next. Michelle says, yep. So, that's kind of just where my reflection comes from this chapter. So I just kind of wanted to like open that up a little bit with, my perspective, of reflection. And again, like always, I just love to open it up to you guys, and, would love to hear what you think of the chapter. And then we'll kind of go into some questions. So feel free to just unmute and speak. Go ahead, Rana.
Okay, so I'm starting. I'm also like a go person, and even though the kids are in school now, I feel like I should be having more time. Well, I don't have more time, because in the time that I have, I do the IPAs and I do this and that and educate myself. So I'm putting the time towards my business. So I don't know. I need to really make the time to reflect on things, but it doesn't mean that my brain is not stopping. Like I overthink a lot of things that I shouldn't be overthinking. Like the reflecting, if I have a conversation with somebody and I'm like on the ride home, I would reflect it, but I don't think it's doing me any good because I'm kind of doing it the wrong way. So I need to work on how I'm reflecting, I think.
Yeah. No, that's good. And if anyone has techniques, like share your reflecting techniques, because that's not something I've done. So go.
No, Rona, I completely agree with you. I was like, yeah, I totally overthink things. So I'm reflective, right? But it's kind of like you kind of inferred, like maybe more anxiety or not necessarily positive. So I completely related to that. I was like, I like in this chapter how it had specific questions to ask yourself. And I just thought my biggest takeaway probably was that for me, writing down my answers will help me identify my problems, my strengths, opportunities, and then create a plan for moving forward. Mm-hmm. So my homework, I told myself, was really just to do it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I know. And the setting the time aside, like I don't know how you guys do, and this is not like business related, but like I live off of alarms. Like truthfully, I set alarms to change my laundry. Like I set alarms to pick up my kids. I live off of alarms. And so when I get ready to go to bed, like if I had snoozed an alarm or like, I'm just going to ignore it, I can't get to it today, I literally go to my list of alarms and I change them to different times for the next day. Like I spend 2 minutes doing that. And it was just kind of a slap in the face again of like, why don't you sit down, reflect on it, prioritize some of those things, and realize, I mean, I have some stuff in here that I've changed for like a week. Like send this person this or email. Like that's ridiculous. But that's why I need new ideas. So if you guys got new ideas and how you reflect or how you journal or how you like organize your, to-dos even, I think that would be helpful. Oh, Stephanie, I see you now. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So I mean, for the thing as to how organized, my mom always said, what's done is done. So anything under 2 minutes of a task should be done right away. And if that's because if, like you said, it takes you 2 minutes to move your timer. If it's just something short, it's better to just do it right away because then it's done and it's off your mind. And you see how much more you can actually accomplish when you do those little things, which are really only taking a minute or two. So that's a one thing in terms of the time. But the other side is my thoughts about this reflection chapter. I think it is really tough for people who have not grown in any of those areas. Like, I feel like from looking through this book that my therapist from years ago had actually probably read that book, because it's literally everything I have so far, everything I had worked through already. I had a pretty rough childhood, and I mean, it's probably oversharing here, but so we were a foster family, and there was a lot of drama going on. I had a lot of other kids in my family, and so on and so forth, and so there was a lot of stuff I had to work through to make my family work, and even with my husband and so on and so forth. So there was just a lot of stuff. So long story short, but everything what I had worked through already is basically what is here. So I want to just say for everyone who starts this and who has not done a lot of growth work and reflection work and all of that, and starts with this journey, to just be patient with themselves, because it's not so easy that one says, oh, I'm just going to sit now for 5 minutes and reflect on that. To be able to reflect and to be aware of what's out there and what might have reactions and certain things, that can be a huge, it can be a huge variety of things what have triggered this one thing. So even if people are not able to reflect right away or something, to just I guess be patient with yourselves, because there might be just a huge thing with it. So it's not such, long story short, I guess it's not like just sitting down, I read this chapter and out of the sudden we are all supposed to know what it means to reflect on problems and on,
right.
I guess that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. I think this book in general is just teaching me to look inward. Like all the stuff that we've uncovered so far is, yes, it can relate to business and family and marriage and just so many other things, but like just the reflection of the personal question that really hits something, weaknesses and strengths, like where you need to grow, what's working for you. And we're encouraged to do that when you think of your why, or you create a vision board, or, there's brief reflection when you have to like kind of create why you're doing Plexus or where you want to go with it. But it's surfaced. It's the surface of what the business, looks like. It's not you, at least that's how I've, kind of looked at it all. I've never really looked inwardly this much. So,
One more thing I wanted to quickly say, sorry. If anybody looks for one book, what has really helped me so far on my journey, aside from this, to find authentic self and authenticity, was, don't laugh guys, Dr. Phil's Self Matters.
I have it.
You have it?
I do. It sits on my bookshelf. I got it. I got it a long time ago. So I had postpartum with Parker. And after I'd seen my therapist and I'd really worked through a lot of that, I started self-care, and that was one of the books that I got. I'm pretty sure I sat around and watched him after I had Parker. Like, I don't know. I went through a big Dr. Phil phase. But I had it, and I've read like, I think maybe 2 chapters. But back then, I didn't look at myself like I do now. Like, I think there's just so much wisdom that comes with age.
Yeah.
Here I am.
That book has, I mean, I really devoted one week when my husband was out of town, and every night when the kids were to bed, I was just like, okay, I'm working through this, and it does take work. You have to really sit there and answer all his questions and his worksheets and stuff. But that was a huge eye opener for me as to where old stuff was coming in and as far as reflection and so on and so forth. And I feel like anybody who might need a little bit help with reflection, that might be a good starting point, because he's very detailed and road mapped with that book. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. No, that's good. And I'd say too that, like, I've had like major growth in my faith when I've reflected, but I've only reflected in my like walk with the Lord and in my prayer and in my quiet time. It's been very like segmented. So I don't know if you guys have had it like, okay, I've been like really focusing on my marriage, and this is where I'm reflecting, and this is where I'm pouring into, like, I feel like we kind of do that with our life, is like segment things. Like, this is just what I'm working on right now. And I love the, overall, like, really umbrella of these questions that he asked us. Like, there was 3 kind of categories, and it was, do you want to work on your relationships? And then the initial questions that he asked was just personal awareness, like looking inward. And then the last one was, applying the 15 laws, like for personal growth. And I almost feel like those are 3 different segments, and you guys could ask yourself a different set of 10 questions that I'm going to ask myself. And I'm sure there's more. I mean, even at you guys, I thought about this, and on page 65, the last half, when he's talking about, it's talking about like pausing so that you can grow again. And you won't get very far in your second half without knowing your life mission. Can yours be stated in a sentence or 2? And then it goes on, what's your passion? What have you achieved? What have you done uncommonly well? How are you wired? Where do you belong? And I think some of those questions, like, each one of you are going to hear something else in your head about that. Like, what's so funny to me is I look at that as like first half of my life. It's my birthday. So I'm like, hey, first 37 years of my life. What do this next 37 years of my life look like? Like, that's kind of what I've been reflecting this week as I was reading it. Like, it's like close to your birthday. You're like, think about your life, like, had I read this 2 months ago, I would have maybe looked at it like my plexus journey. Like, here I am at Emerald, what am I going to do now for my next half? So you guys can totally look at it in your, teaching career, your motherhood, like different things. So that's where I just love this, how we can all take something different out of it. So keep sharing. Tell me more. All right, Denise, I'm calling on you, girlfriend. Tell me what you think.
Aren't you just the sweetest?
I am.
I mean, I just liked how he kind of broke down everything. What was it titled? The value the steps for you to build your self-image. I really want to go back and just kind of write down kind of what I think about myself. Mm-hmm. I think, knowing what your strengths are, we've always it's been touched, to know what you bring to the table, whether it's just in plexus or in your relationships or with family, friends, that kind of thing. So reading everything that he had wrote about himself, as I was reading it, I'm like, oh, am I good at that? I think I'm good at that. So, like it really, it was definitely a chapter where it's like, I kind of need to go back and reread that again, mm-hmm. and have literally that time where I'm in a quiet place, and if I had to pick a place, it would probably just be on my bed because it's surrounded by pillows. It's comfy. I'm, at home there. So I really it was good advice to go back and spend an hour and, reflect on who you are and, then work on it from there. Because as I was reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to do that again, but I didn't schedule time.
Yeah, and I want to write the questions down separately.
Yeah.
Reading his answer. Do you know what I mean? Like, as you were reading it, weren't you like, yeah, me too? But the questions were there, and you just kind of cleared your mind a little bit, and then went and sat down. I think we would all answer them very differently.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's funny you say on your bed. I hit my bed and I'm out. So I'd have to be sitting at my kitchen table at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning when it's quiet and no one's that's my place. I've tried to if I go to my office, I work. If I sit on my couch, I just get cuddle up with a blanket. We all have our spots that we're just gonna have to again, it's self-discipline that we're gonna have to do in order to do this. But I wanted to ask in the back on the questions, when it obviously was talking about scheduling the time to pause and reflect, what's it look like for you? Is it 10 to 30 minutes? You're doing it weekly? Are you doing it a year? And the one thing that I don't know about you guys, but I've always been a New Year's resolution person, not necessarily a resolution this is what I need to do, but a reflection of the year, look back on the year and look ahead. Other than that, like I said, I've never been one to be okay, where am I at in 3 months? Where am I at in 6 months? And, just kind of from our team call the other night, this is something that I would love for us to do more intentionally. I listened to that Dave Walker call the other day. I think that was actually yesterday. And the one thing they said is they're this is fourth quarter. This is the last 3 months of 2017. Where are you? What do you want for yourself in 2017? Where are you going to be in 90 days? And it was just that realization. I was already halfway through this chapter when he was talking about it. And that's probably something we need to be way more intentional about as leaders for ourselves and for our team to look at and say, okay, you said in January, this is where you wanted to be. Where are you at on that? Are you going to do everything you can to finish 2017 and hit that goal? Or are you just going to wait until next year to pick back up? I never really looked from a business perspective, from a personal growth perspective that hey, we got first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And I have it written down right here, fourth quarter. I wrote the quote and I put it on Facebook yesterday, don't aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference and be intentional per quarter. That's something I want to do in 2018 with the team, is really looking at, okay, what are our 90 days? What are our 90 days goals? And that's what we still need to get a bunch of the business calls, planning calls set up, in the next week or two. But I still think that gives us plenty of time to look to see where we want to be by December 31st. So I think that might help us create a reflective nature if we start to do that every 90 days. So hopefully y'all are on board with that and help me kind of get that going with our teams. I'll probably be doing it with you if you're my level 1, but I hope that you guys will be doing it with your sponsors too. So that was the side note I put on there. And I just want to ask, where do you guys feel, and again, this is covering the last 4 chapters a little bit, where do you feel you personally need to grow more? I'm not talking plexus, just personally, you can share anything here. Is it your relationships? Is it your passion? Is it your belief? Is it your fears? Is it your reflection? Where do you feel that you really just need to, grow more?
I feel for me, it's risk taking, just taking more risks, stepping out of my comfort zone more. So doing things that make me uncomfortable.
You're doing so good, Michelle. So good.
Thank you.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I only know you for a couple of months now. And since I started, meeting you until now, I can even see a huge difference. So it's really cool. I really admire you.
Thank you, Rona.
Anyone? Seth? Oh. Hold on, I got you. Maybe. It won't. Oh, there you go.
I need to definitely grow in steadiness. I don't know if that's the right word even, but like I get very excited about stuff, and then I have in my head, and then I plan everything, and I know exactly where I want to go, and I know exactly how I want to get there, and where to find the stuff. And I feel like people can't keep up sometimes with my way of thinking, so I need to grow on simmering that down a little bit and just kind of like map in my head a road and then stick with it for a little bit, because a lot of times like it's very clear to me where this road is going, but for others it might seem to be like, well, today she's doing this and tomorrow she's doing that. And so in my role as a leader now, I feel I need to like provide calmness and steadiness so that it's not, groundedness, I guess. So that's where I definitely want to grow.
And when you figure that out, will you teach me?
Okay. What?
I said, when you figure that out, will you teach me?
What did you say?
I said, when you figure it out, can you teach me? Can she hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, well, can you guys hear me? Okay. I think that's kind of the hardest part about this business, right? Like we like go on a 30-day like run. It's a 30-day race basically. And along the way, something comes up, whether it's a special or it's something from corporate or our family life or a trip. And, it's just like, I feel like I'm on a tennis court with Plexus, like there's just balls coming everywhere. Like seriously, it is just a constant, like, can you keep it all going, and there's days where it's like, I just miss everyone, like, and that's okay. Like we're going to all have that. But I do think, I love how Stephanie says she needs growth in that area. I do too, as a leader. Like I tried really hard to plan things for you guys this month and just put it out there at the beginning of the month and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And then in the back burner, behind the scenes, this is what I'm doing, like just to say, this is what's going on. Cause I know the last few months have been crazy for y'all, like just popping things up. It's been totally overwhelming. Like there's a part of me that feels responsible for doing certain things. And then there's a part of me that just feels like, okay, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. So as a leader, like you guys, I hope you would provide feedback in all this too. But I've loved seeing how much is popping up from your all's team this month. I feel that it's like spreading out the responsibility, making it smaller scale really helps define the chaos, to where you guys feel less like overwhelmed. There always will be big team stuff. But hopefully what you guys are doing individually is like, one, helping you personally grow and step up, but also taking away some of that like crazy tennis. Who else needs to grow? What areas?
I would say this book is helping me to identify strengths, because even though I may look like I know them, I don't. And I a lot of times self-doubt myself. And like Tracy, you can attest to this at the Ruby retreat. I was like, do I even deserve to be here with these people? Like, they're amazing. They do all these things. And like when Allie asked me to do a Zoom and Emily asked me, I'm like, but I don't do anything great. Like, why? And so it's that self-doubt in my head that I don't do anything spectacular. I just do it, kind of thing. So I think for me, just growing in that aspect, this book has helped that. If you have never had the opportunity to do it, I highly suggest you sit down and write your vision of where you do expect to be within 6 months or a year. That has been game changing for me, to give me a plan of exactly what I want. And I was selfish with it. And that feels really hard to do as a mom, but you have to, because when mom is happy, everybody's happy, really. But you have to do it for yourself. This isn't about, that's the biggest thing I've learned, I think, through this book, this journey. This is about you. And you have to remember that your why can be, yes, you know, for your kids and all that. But when it boils down to it, this is about you. This is about you growing and you becoming a better person for yourself. And where do you want to be in the next 6 months or the next year that is going to benefit your family, your husband, whatever it's going to be. So when you feel like you're being selfish, you should be. And I know that's really hard for us to do because we're always concerned about everybody else. And, you know, oh my gosh, I can't think about that because what do my kids need and this and that? Well, you need it too. And if you feel that empowerment, that's only going to breathe off of you into your family, into your kids, into the people that you work with. Guys, I just walked into the teacher's lounge yesterday and these women were talking about how, well, I'm just trying to survive this week. I mean, just like that. I'm trying to survive this week. I'm like, well, what are you trying to survive? And they're like, well, it's just, this is my life due to this. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to say this. Don't take this in any mean way, but we choose our own path. You choose to do those things. You choose to have your kids in those different things. You choose to go to those things at night. You make that choice. You chose to work here. Like, you can't be unhappy about that. If you are unhappy about that, then you have to make that change. I said to her, have you ever allowed yourself to dream? She looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, have you ever? Like, have you ever sat down and thought about what you want in your life? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a different, you know, like, have you ever thought about that? She's like, no. I go, well, you should. You should take 20 minutes and go sit down and think about that. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, I really want you to do that. Because if you can fulfill whatever you need, you're going to feel so much better about that. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, that's just obviously the things I'm sharing with you. That's how I know I've changed. Yeah, I can walk huge growth and talk like that. And before I would like walked out like, ooh, what are they talking about? I'm out of here. You know, I care about, and I think it's opened my eyes to women just because obviously there's most of us that are women, that we are so hard on ourselves, like bad hard on ourselves. We put ourselves last in so many situations. And I know that in our heads, that's the right thing to do, but in a way it's really not. So I think that's a lot of what I've been learning, to just, it's okay to be selfish and to feel that way, and that you're doing a really good thing. You know, if God didn't want you to do this and become this person, you wouldn't be on this call right now. So that's just
Amen. I think we should just
5 cents.
We should just end right there. Yeah, mic drop, girl. You know so much. I'm so proud of you. For real.
That's pretty good for after 4 hours of conferences. But I feel so like I share this stuff in conferences too, and that's where like I share it with my students and I share it with parents, and you know, like it's just, I feel like I've become a different person, a way more positive person, looking at things in a positive light and just giving people the benefit of the doubt, even though maybe sometimes they don't always deserve it, but they deserve that. They really, truly do, because that's the person that I feel like I'm meant to be. So,
It's so true. And can you guys just imagine, like, just look at us, look at the people that we're influencing just within Plexus. And if they, like, it's the ripple effect. It's the ripple effect of health and happiness. It truly is. Like, you know, Shannon's doing this in a teacher's lounge. You know, there's many teachers on here. You know, we've got 2 dental hygienists in here. You know, they're doing it in the dental office. Like, you guys, this is what we get to do, you know, is just spread that. Like, spread hope, spread faith. And, like, and, you know, my mission is just spreading my faith, you know, and just, like, I wanted to come back to this, and Shannon, you said it, like, not in, you know, in about basically the same thing, but he said that the author says, faith is trusting in advance what will only make sense in reverse. Having faith and knowing its value in my life helps me to have a divine perspective every day. I was at Mom's Group on Monday, and I get this all the time, like, to the point where people are like, I just don't understand how, like, you're so happy, like, with what you do, and, like, you're just so successful. And I'm like, you guys, I chose to be, like, I worked for this. Like, and you know, that's the hardest part about the women who know me now, don't know me who I was 3 years ago. So that's like the hardest part, is like, I sound boastful in talking about Plexus, and I try not to, but they just don't know where I've come from. So it's a hard position to be in. But when they hear, like, the passion and how much like I love what we do, they really question it. But I always can relate it to my faith. I can always relate it to my walk with the Lord, you know, like, and that's what I get to do in mom's group. But I tell them that all the time. I'm like, but how come you can't take a leap of faith in something else, but you can in trusting God? You know, like this is what I did. Like, I didn't want to do this job either, but I trusted that I'm like, I prayed for it. Like, there's so many that you pray, that you sit and that honestly, guys, mom's group is my hardest place, because you listen to those prayer requests. You listen to those people pray for better health, pray for better finances, just pray for like, just to have a purpose. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've talked to them all, you know, and thankfully they still love me, but it's like, you know, it's just, it's a, I don't know, you, when you grow, just like Shannon said, when you grow in this area and you want it to others to just feel this way, it's hard, but that's why we just keep on sharing and keep on going, because we just keep on changing lives.
One thing that I will say really helped me change was before this book, was in school, the first day or week or whatever, we did this institute, and it's about becoming a leader. And they asked us to think about, on your 80th birthday, who will be there and what will they say about you?
Aww.
And think about that. Like, truly think about that. Who would be there and what would they say about you? What would you want them to say about you? How would you want them to remember you? You know, what would you want them to say? Like, you know what, she always believed in me. You know, your kids, what would you want your kids to say about you? You know, oh my gosh, my mom worked so hard for us. I loved watching her achieve her goals and her dreams. And she taught me to do that, to never look back and never let something get in your way. Or your husband, what would you want your husband to say about you? Your best friend or whatever. And so I really internalized that, like, really did sit and think about that, because we were given an hour to sit and think about it. So like, seriously think about that. What do you want people to say about you at your 80th birthday? And let that drive you.
That is so weird that you just said that. And you know why? Because I was at a sermon at my church that Sunday, and that is exactly the question the pastor had asked us. And I think it was about the weekend after that I ended up saying yes to Sharon and said, okay, you know what? Yes, maybe I need to work on something. And it's so weird that you just said that, because it's exactly the reason why I said, you know what, I'm going to give Plexus a chance, and maybe I can grow in leadership and in all of the things. Maybe I really do need to work on how people see me and how, you know, like the relationship side of things, you know, versus just business, you know. So bizarre that, you know, this is where the circle sometimes, when you really question, right? When the circle kind of comes back, it's weird.
Amen. Got it work. So cool.
I was going to say too, I was just at a visit or a funeral today, and I was sitting like in the whole, you know, craziness of the whole funeral, I guess. And I couldn't help but like think about all the little things, like, just like you said, how, you know, your 80th birthday, your funeral, your whatever. And those are all the little things. What do I do every day that like influences someone else, whether it be like those little messages to send to other people? And I had like a whole list. This is horrible that this is what I was thinking during the funeral, but I was thinking of myself and how I could influence someone else's life, not so that they could talk great about me at my funeral someday, but just knowing that all the people that we touch every day, like doing all this stuff, like how, I don't know, in 80 years or whatever, you know, that whenever I pass away, that, I don't know, that they'll think about me then, but it's those every little thing, those things that we do every day that make us that person in whenever that happens. But you know what I mean? When your 80th birthday or whatever, but it was just one of those, it's really, again, just like Stephanie said, funny that you brought that up, Shannon, because it's just one of those total thoughts I was thinking earlier today.
I just want to thank you guys for, I feel that my faith has always been important to me, but I'm telling you, since joining Plexus, it has grown so much. And I feel that like all of the people on our team have played such a huge part in that role. I just feel like every time I get off a call, like I feel like it makes me want to be a better person. It makes me reflect. I mean, it's just all positivity. And, you know, and it's crazy. Like when you surround yourself with these kind of people all the time, it makes me want to keep coming back, you know, to be around all of you guys. And so I just want to thank all of you for that, because I just feel it's just so positive and beneficial in my life. So very appreciative.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. I know in here in this chapter, maybe someone can find it faster, but you just hit on it, Ray, when you were talking about, there's a quote in here and it talks about the things you do daily. I swear it was this chapter. Do you guys remember it? It was like,
yeah, it says, I'm on my Kindle, so I don't know what actual page it's on, but it says, I believe a person's secret to success is found in his daily agenda.
yes, that's
it's what's my best habit is like the question that it's under.
okay. What's my best habit? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 62. Oh yeah, that's it. I like put a heart around it.
Yeah.
I put it in here somewhere. But I love that. Like you guys, we go back to like IPAs and daily things, but I like have my daily to-dos, and you know, it goes to show that like what you do daily like pays off. So silly as it is, Facebook birthday wishes, like, you know, hundreds flood through, and it's, you know, people that I haven't heard of, but I know that I've wished a happy birthday to. Like, I'm pretty good about that. There's some days that I don't, but like, I truly make a point to wish everybody a happy birthday on their birthday. Thank goodness Facebook tells you when they are. I wouldn't remember them, but I like getting those. And you guys, the comments that I'm getting are like, you know, I loved one of my cousins. She's like, happy birthday to my hardworking cousin. I haven't talked to her in years, but that's how she views me. Like, I appreciate that, because I don't want, like, I feel Facebook is the superficial, like, you know, the high reel of like, oh, I've gotten this or I've done this. Like, I appreciate that people are seeing like that it is hard work, you know, but it is that daily stuff, like wishing people a happy birthday, sending a text to someone that you love. Like, those are my first, well, it's prayer, text someone I love, and happy birthdays. Those are the first three things I do every single day. And those are the things that make you who you are. Because, I'm not trying to like say that I'm just talking about that's my daily thing, and that's where my mind goes. It's like, who can I think about today? And who can I pray about today first? Because then it shifts off of, oh my gosh, my kids are crazy. And, you know, I just yelled at them when they ran out the door. Because that is usually what happens. So, all right, well, anybody want to add anything else tonight? Awesome. Just once again, thank you all for continuing to commit to this. Like, I'm blown away that you all are still here at chapter 5. Like, for real. You've seen people on the thread. You've seen people that haven't been here once, or that maybe have been here once, you know. But you guys have been committed, and I appreciate it. I know things are crazy. Trust me, I didn't know if I was going to be here in time. Parent-teacher conferences, you know, swim lessons. I know it's been crazy for everybody. So thank you for making this a commitment, not for me, but for you. So have a good
birthday.
Thank you. I feel so much older.
Yeah, happy 29th.
Right? We went to a restaurant, of course, that they sang and announced, it's Tracy's 37th birthday. I was like, who says the year? Like, it was fun. Awesome. I own it. I feel better at 37.
I didn't think you were 37.
I feel way better. So
you should be 25 again.
Yay. Kara just said it's my first time on the call, but I'm diving into the book. Love it, girl. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Am I going to see you this weekend, Kara?
Yes, I think that you are, and she's going to bring her husband and her son, I believe, right, Kara?
She's like there.
Right.
She's
now
there.
I'm going to say yes. Probably.
It's a probably yes.
I'm sorry. I sound like a whore.
Oh, the connection must be bad. That's okay. Well, thank you all again for being on. We'll talk to you soon and see you this weekend, hopefully.
Can't wait to sit in your Lexus.
I can't wait either. You guys all have to help me come up with a name. So if you're not going to be there, text me names. We got to give our girl a good old name. We got to name our Lexus. All right. Night, guys.
Bye.